Hello and welcome back. I'm Joe, and this is another test for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. I tested 19 different industries to figure out which one has the best return on investment. And no, just calculating the numbers in your spreadsheet did not give me a good enough answer. Why am I doing this? Because Season X is about to start it on June 7th at 9 a.m. Central Time. It is the hardest challenge I will ever attempt. The mapper introduction will happen here very soon, and you will figure out why it's going to be so hard. But I needed numbers that I can rely on to tell me what path I have to go to have a chance to even survive that one. So, this is the setup. We have the city. This is the Absolute Beginner's Guide city, where our shopping center is currently importing everything it needs. We have about 2,500 people. At peak, we have about 20% unemployment. That allows me to get 255 workers in a shift for the industries. And then we have a lot of educated people because we needed them to be able to run some of the industries. So that's our setup. For the test itself, the test will run all of August. The industry will be completed at the end of July, and then the first workers arrive on July 31st, August 1st, so they get started on the first day, and then they spit it out. The industry itself is going to be set up here for however many buildings I have. Everyone has to be in walking range of this one, and then the export goes through this customs house with an appropriate number of trucks. There was no focus on efficiency on the truck export, so the trucks just drive as much as they want to, so there's fuel export associated with that. But I was okay with ignoring that. This is the setup that I think most of us have tried, where we have fabric in the middle and 2 clothing on the outside because we can produce up to 5 tons, and each clothing factory uses about 2.5 tons each. That's fine. So, how does this one do? Well, it's the middle of the road. It's number 9 on my list, and that means I get an ROI of about 159% when I run the setup that I just explained. What I thought was interesting is if you look down here, fabric only and clothing only has a relatively low ROI of 58% and 53%, but if you use one of these and 2 of these and add them up, you get very close to the 160% ROI of fabric and clothing setup combined. So I thought that was pretty cool. You can actually add the numbers, assuming that you start producing all the things for the lower levels, and then you only have the import of one of them to work with. I thought it was interesting. I don't think there is a formula here yet, but just for Pi mal Daumen in German, if you just want to approximate it, then yes, you can add up the ROIs and know what realm you're in at least. All the numbers that you see here, actually, I would say if it's within 20 to 30% of another number, it is close enough to consider them almost even because there are efficiency here that you can definitely gain by better truck setup, by better line setup, better passenger support, etc., etc., etc. Plus, this is all trucks and buses. If you have trains and other means of transport, these numbers will also change. But this is a beginning setup, and I just want to see some numbers. Other things, I said if you just want to do the calculation, it won't work. What I found was, with the few that I actually did some mathing with, I effectively get a reduction of the calculated return on investment of almost 30%. In this case, 58% for fabric only versus 86% for fabric only just on the theoretical numbers. I felt was pretty significant because it actually moves the needle for some of the industries quite a lot. A big surprise was plastic. I don't know if you've ever done the math on that, but it's not worth it. In my case, I actually lost money. In the theoretical case, you barely make any money, but it's not worth really investing. Electrical components and electronics also is not worth investing. However, if you would build this as a complex, again, like fabric and clothing, you can definitely get up this ROI to probably fabric only level, which is still not great, but you can definitely increase it. Then we have food. Food, we have 110% on the realistic setup in the test. However, it's supposed to give me almost 172%. ROI, for those that don't know, this is how you calculate it. It's simply the profit divided by the import, and the profit is obviously the export minus the import. So actually what it means is if you have 100% ROI, you've doubled your money. It's a little confusing. If it's 200% ROI, you tripled your money. It gets a little weird, but it all makes sense, and that's what the ROI is. And in this case, bigger numbers is just better for us, okay? Good. So yeah, food gives me 110%, supposed to do 172, so not great. Alcohol, I have a lot of people talk about and liking. It's only supposed to give me 125%, which is bigger than the theoretical number of food, but in reality, it's about 20% lower, which really puts this on a very similar level. But I just wanted to point out that there is a large difference. 171 versus 110. This one could very well be because of the volume of food that you actually have to export. And if you then add importing crops via trucks or trains to that, this number may fluctuate even a little more. Now, alcohol does have a lot of crops coming in, but only a few trucks going out. So a lot of this ROI number is very likely dependent on how much fuel you're wasting with your trucks. Keep that also in mind. But this is also why I wanted to run this to see what the real numbers are. Another good example of that is here. We have a refinery and pipes. The pipes are the border connection pipes that I tried. And in this case, our ROI and the calculated ROI is extremely close together. Why is that? Because power should be considered in the ROI, but it's such a mini number that it really doesn't matter. Water is also relatively cheap whenever you run this, and, well, refinery doesn't need it. It's only worker consumption and sewage. It's not a lot. Waste, for the numbers that you produce, is also relatively small, especially for just a month, so you don't have to worry about that. So fuel is usually your big ROI adjuster, and the less fuel you need, the closer your real ROI should be to the calculated ROI. But I think I said that now 4 different ways, so I hope that makes sense. But that's why the refinery with the pipes numbers are this close. When I use trucks, because we're such a high volume export with fuel and with bitumen, our number is significantly different. It's not even a third. It's much lower than that. So fuel makes a huge difference in everything that we're trying to do here. Okay. Other things, and this is where it gets interesting. Most things nowadays, if you play with the research turned on, are not free anymore. So we get fabric and clothing, food, alcohol, explosives for free, and that's it. Other than that, you can get coal and gravel and a bunch of construction industries and other things for free, but they're not very high volume and high value. They are high volume, which I didn't even include here because it's probably impossible to export most of those via truck at a meaningful level. So I just left them out, and the ROI is probably too affected by the fuel that you're wasting with those trucks. So I didn't go there. But now you get into the other realm of research days and how many research levels you need. Luckily, all industries here all are part of the technical university research minus the pipes. The export pipes are part of the headquarter, which makes sense. You have to talk to other nations to get that one figured out. But all of these are in the same university, which effectively means they're really hard to parallelize. They're mostly sequential anyway, so you can't really speed them up. So when you do your decision on what industry you want to go for, you have to take into consideration how long the research tree is for them. There's one really good answer. That one is chemicals. We all knew chemicals was good. This was about 210%, so it triples our money when we run it, which is really nice. The only downside is it doesn't move a lot of money. It doesn't take a lot of money to move, but it doesn't make us a lot of money very early on. But every penny that we put in it gives us a lot out. Now, it's very low profit per worker and all that stuff. You may want to consider here too. Like chemicals is very safe, but it's not going to speed you up very much because where's this a problem? If you take out a loan, your loan may expect 30,000 or so paid back every month. If you only run on chemicals, I need 3 chemical plants to already run this to barely pay that loan off, and then you're not paying any of your other imports, even though your ROI is great. This one needs big volume to be effective, and once you get into big volume chemicals, there's so many trucks and so many other problems running around because chemicals does take 4 different materials to go. It may become a problem, but it's a cheap, early, good ROI investment. But you could argue that fabric and clothing may be still a little better than chemicals. Chemicals should just be used to supplement your chemical needs, which is fair. That's a fair assumption. What else is going on here? We talked about the refinery. Yep. But research is 3 levels and 4,500 days of research. So that's not a quick one that you can get into. With pipes, we add that to 7, and it's 7 plus because for every export pipe connection, you need a separate research. You do want to get at least 2 import pipes and 1 export pipe to make this work. Otherwise, the refinery can't even run at high efficiency. I mean, I'm only running at 255 people, and 1 import pipe was already not sufficient to run that. But it's, then you're doing okay. But you're up into 9,000 days of research. So is this a good one? Yes. If you can handle the volume, if you have a way of supplementing even with your own oil, I think you're in a really good place. Otherwise, the refinery may not be the best place to go. There are 2 other ones that are doing really well: the vehicle production line and the nuclear fuel line. Let's talk about vehicle production line first. I was surprised when I ran the ROI that my ROI is about 350%. That is pretty good. You 4.5x your money. That's pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot. And it didn't matter which blueprints you use. Generally, you want to sell NATO vehicles to USSR side. That's how you make the most money. But which blueprint you're picking didn't make a difference. Like the bulldozer blueprint is about $800K, so you have to actually export there before you can get there. Versus the other 2 only like $50,000 or $100,000. Not a ton compared to that, and they all make about the same money back. And then if you look at this, they do move a lot of money pretty fast. It's about 600 ruble per worker. That's actually a pretty good number. That makes the paying back of the loans relatively easy and stable, and has a good flow. And you can do this with just a couple of trucks, because all you need to do is make sure that you get a little bit of raw materials in, and then have 1 truck just bring all the vehicles out. That's pretty good. But the biggest winner, which is not the best in terms of ROI, but it's maybe the best for everything else, is this guy. And I forgot. Research days for cars is 12,800 before you can build the industry, and then after that you can make your first car. Nuclear fuel. This one may be my favorite new guy. I knew it was good, but you import UF6 and you import a little bit of chemicals, and that is it. That's not a lot of vehicles that you need. You can probably do that with 1 vehicle. Oh, well, we need 2 because a UF6 comes in a container. But 2 vehicles to import this, and one of the vehicles can take whatever you have produced out. So this is a 3-truck endeavor. You don't need more than that. Gives you an ROI of 276%, again, because we are driving a lot. Potentially, there's a little bit of our ROI here, but we only have 3 trucks doing this, so this number may be skewed a little bit, and there's some other stuff going on. But that's fine. We make just a buttload of cash. There's so much cash being moved around, which I think is the biggest factor here for this industry. It's just, oh yeah, you have a loan of 5 million and they want 100,000 back every month. This is a monthly production. That is not a problem. This is the only industry where that feels that way. All the other industries will struggle with those numbers for the loan paybacks, even though they may have some better ROIs or close ROIs like the refinery. But even here, we're just not talking big enough numbers to make a dent. And that's really what I wanted to point out. Nuclear fuel is by far the best one, and here's the best part. To get to nuclear fuel, you have to do the research that lets you get the uranium mine, then uranium oxide, UF6, it gets you all the way up there. And because of what I talked about at the very beginning, the ROIs that you have here can be added. And I think the ratio was 1 uranium mine to 2 UF6s, and no, wait, 1 uranium mine to 2 uranium oxide to 2 UF6 to 1 nuclear fuel refinery or something like that. So you add up good numbers. So if you have the full nuclear fuel production line sitting there, you probably end up with an ROI of 500, 600, 700%, which is pretty amazing if you ask me. And you can do it pretty much by importing whatever you want. So there's your number. Nuclear fuel is probably my new favorite import-export industry if I absolutely really need money. Everything else is kind of just secondary. Hope this helps someone. I know this question comes up a lot, and this is something I'm going to use in Season X. It's going to be the Peninsula Island Challenge. we'll see how that goes. Thank you all for watching. Sorry this was a little longer, but there was a lot of numbers to go through. If you want to get this spreadsheet, I will make it available to all Patreon and YouTube members. So if you want that, go there. Also, once the first episode drops for Season X, there will be early access for the rest of the season. So if you want that, also pop into Patreon and YouTube members and you can have that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.